All right, what's up, everybody? This is going to be a full lower body workout. I'm going to show two sets from each lift that I did for this session. And I just want to give you guys a little bit of my thought process and reasoning so you guys can learn a little bit more about what I'm actually thinking about and what's going on in my head throughout this entire session. So, as you can see, the first lift I'm doing today is going to be the inverted leg press slash back supported hack squat machine. So, the reps are going to be a little bit higher here. One of the biggest secrets and something that nobody really talks about when it comes to leg training, and this is something that I want you guys to take advantage of, is going to be the use of a slower tempo. So obviously mine isn't anything crazy. It's about a 1 or 2 second, full second that is negative. So the reason why I like to go a little bit slower on my reps is because tempo doesn't matter. And I know that might sound like it contradicts itself a little bit, but my reasoning is if you can gain the same amount of muscle with a 5 or 6 second negative as you can with just dropping the negative entirely, you can get more out of less weight. So when you reach failure on either of those sets, whether you're going very fast on the eccentric or whether you're going very slow and actually controlling it with much less weight, you're actually going to get the same amount of muscular growth from each set. All right, so one thing that I want to add on, this is just going to be a quick intermission here, is there's no secret method. There's no special fancy way that's going to give you better results. I know it's easy for people to try and sell that on YouTube and on Instagram, this fancy new exercise, this fancy rep range, this brand new biomechanically optimized way of training. The secret to getting big and having it be sustainable long term is searching for the more convenient ways to do things and finding ways that can allow you to train harder and better to get better results. You're never going to find the secret that allows you to get better results than another method directly, but you can find methods that give you the same exact results that are much easier and much more practical and much more sustainable than the other ones that you've tried in the past that a lot of people talk about. So basically, to summarize what I just said, stop searching for the magic pill, the magic potion. Keep searching for ways to make your training more sustainable, more fun, and more practical. And that's the secret to getting big long term. And where volume and sustainability is such an important aspect of bodybuilding and muscle growth in general, you want to be able to get more out of less weight for easier recovery and a little bit more of a direct target to the muscles that you're actually trying to work. As you can see here, the next thing I'm doing is some neutral grip pull-ups. What I like to do here is go with a super narrow grip. I do like to put my thumbs over the bar because it gives me a little bit of a stronger grip and it takes a little bit less of a toll on my forearms. But the goal here is basically just to get a full stretch and a full contraction on my lats. I don't go all the way up and try and bring my chin above the bar because your lats actually aren't that active in the top portion of the rep. So I just do not quite half reps, but almost like 3/4 reps for those. As you can see here, I'm doing some RDLs. I like to film these from the side, at least for one of the sets, because I want you guys to see my knees and then my hips. So you'll notice that they're both very far behind the bar. My hips are going back, and that's allowing for a little bit more of a stretch on my glutes and hams. When your knees go forward, it just activates a little bit more quads, which is obviously not something we're trying to target here. You'll also notice that I'm using straps because that allows me to superset with another pulling movement. So I'm going back and forth between RDLs and neutral grip pull-ups. I like to go with the super narrow grip on these pull-ups as well because it actually gets a little bit more of a stretch on your lats. This is just one of those things that some people can argue whether it's optimal or whether it's not optimal. I'm somebody that likes to take advantage of proper biomechanics, but not at the expense of good training and stable training. So obviously making a small tweak, like moving my positioning from a wider neutral grip or even shoulder width to a narrower than shoulder width, makes a pretty big difference in my books, especially as your volume and your work accumulates over time. Next thing I'm doing here is going to be the leg extensions. The way that I like to train these is I like to make sure I'm doing a consistent tempo throughout the lift. You'll see a lot of people that just kind of like go slow at the start and then kick it up real quick, and then they start to lower it down real slow, and then they almost accelerate the speed throughout the movement, which does use a little bit more momentum, which takes away from tension on your muscles. Another thing that I like to do here is partials past failure. the stretch position, aka the bottom half of the movement, is where you'll end up building most of the muscle anyways, not necessarily the contraction, even though the sensation of the contraction feels like it's more important. Just not the case. The lengthened position, as we're learning more as time goes on, is more important for muscle growth. And you'll notice that in pretty much all of my lifts. You'll even see it here, where I try and get a pretty full stretch on my lats on the way up, but I don't necessarily bring it down that low, kind of just to almost like hairline level, even a little bit higher. So you don't need to go with a full contraction on your lats. I think that's a huge mistake a lot of people make on lat pull downs, and I think that's why my lats have grown so much, is because I don't try and go all the way down at the expense of keeping my lats activated and working them. You'll also see a couple partials past failure here. The biggest thing you want to focus on here is just mind muscle connection with the lats. I think the best way to work them is to keep a narrower than shoulder width grip. Doesn't necessarily matter if it's neutral, supinated, or pronated, as long as it's narrower than shoulder width. I think that's the best way to activate your lats. It forces them to stretch a little bit more. So right back into leg extensions, as you'll see here. This is basically just easy volume. It's recoverable volume. It's very sustainable. So where volume's key, I think that's an easy way to accumulate. And you'll even notice that the volume within this session isn't even that high. The only reason it's relatively low is because I'm doing this workout at such a high frequency. I'm hitting it 3 times a week. So if I was just doing this twice a week or something, or even once a week, which I wouldn't recommend, obviously the volume would be much higher. But since I'm doing it 3 times a week, I can afford a little bit of a lower volume within the session, kind of get in, get out. And that's something that I do recommend to a lot of people. I definitely recommend shorter, quicker, more intense workouts more frequently than these big, long, crazy hour and a half, 2-hour sessions that you do 3 times a week. So with that being said, I know the video is over. So thanks for watching. Hope you learned a couple things, and I'll see you guys in the next one.